Hey there fellow creators, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and this week I am sharing with you my 5 secret weapons for acrylic painting. Stick around. So when it comes to painting, a lot of artists have different little secret techniques or hacks that allow them to either speed up their process or just make it a lot easier for them to do and make the kind of work that they want to. So these are my 5. The first of these is old, worn-out brushes. There is a certain allure to keeping your brushes perfectly clean and straight, and the bristles are always together and they never splay out, and there's almost a social media trend, like how do you keep your brushes as pristine as humanly possible? The problem is, you limit yourself as a painter if you're only using really nice, perfect brushes all of the time. For example, a round brush, when it first starts out, it has a really nice point to it. As it ages, depending on how you take care of your brushes, it will start to splay out, it will round off, it won't be just like this nice little point anymore, and instead it becomes a little bit more of a bushy brush. There are brush companies out there that try to mimic new brushes to look kind of like this, but none of them ever really do it right. And the truth is, there's no way to artificially recreate in a factory the look of a worn out brush. You just can't really do it. And whether that be a round brush or a flat brush that has paint buried into the back of the ferrule and is spreading out all kind of different ways, a cheaper, crappier flat brush that you end up shaving down and slicing with a pair of scissors to look in a weird scraggly way, you gotta use your brushes and really, really use your brushes. And the idea of just constantly taking perfect care of your brushes limits yourself in what you can create with the shape of a worn out brush. If you ever look at the pile of brushes in another artist's video, especially a professional artist, you're probably going to see that it's a bunch of old, worn out brushes. They're not all perfectly aligned. Good example, all of the brushes I got from my late friend Jim, there's pretty much none of these in here that are nice, perfect, clean brushes, and he was a pretty realistic painter. Come to think of it, one of his fan brushes is literally sliced in the center of it, so you just have the two sides. This is the most like custom, I just need it to do the thing I need it to do, and a fresh, clean brush just doesn't do that. Number 2 is an acrylic medium that I fell in love with quite a long time ago, and that is a golden medium called fine pumice gel. Now there is a lot of different other brands that make sort of stone mediums and sand mediums. Utrecht has a coarse stone, but the fine pumice gel from Golden is very much just that. It's fine. When it dries to a sort of this translucent gray, warm gray finish, and as a result of what you get out of this is a surface that in many ways can mimic canvas or paper depending on where you paint it. What I love about this is painting this, especially on something like a canvas board, allows me to basically use it for any medium imaginable. Like you can gesso it and you can use, paint on a canvas the way you'd expect to, or you can put the fine pumice gel on it and paint watercolor on stretched canvas or canvas boards or literally whatever. It is the ultimate prep medium for all kind of mixed media projects. It's like, I want to paint on this, but I don't know if it would work. Like I would love to use watercolors on this giant stretched canvas, but I can't do that because that doesn't work. Nope, the fine pumice gel lets you do that. And if you've been watching this channel for a little while, you know that I recently upgraded my 8-ounce jar of it into a gallon bucket of it because I use that much of it. Granted, this was a little pricey because it's a Golden product and it's a whole gallon, but since I bought this about 6 months ago, I've used probably about 3 or 4 jars, 8-ounce jars worth of it. I love having the big bucket. It allows me to tackle much larger projects than I was able to do with just the jar, and it allows me to not have to restock this all the frickin' time. Especially when I am prepping unusual wood supports, like this big slice of a tree. Okay, number 3 is a mop brush. Now obviously mop brushes in terms of the art world are not any big secret, I don't claim it to be, but how I use this, I think, is something that most people probably wouldn't really catch. So I don't use this brush, I don't load this brush with paint the way a lot of people do, or even watercolorists would load it with a bunch of water so you can sop up a lot of paint and medium and flow that around. I don't really touch a lot of paint with this in general. I use this as a layered blending brush. So when I am blending two colors into each other, skies in particular, if I'm looking for a nice, soft, beautiful transition, it's lay down those two colors, get it kind of close with just a regular brush, and then take the mop brush, hold it at the very back, and really lightly, with wrist motions, just swirl that paint all around. And within just a few seconds, it really makes this beautiful, pure transition from one color to the other. I have a video on this channel already about layering and blending acrylics, but I did not talk about the mop brush in that video. One, because I don't expect a lot of beginners to go out and grab a mop brush, but two, sort of my secret technique. So now you get to learn about it in this one. I will also say, kind of contradictory to having a bunch of old brushes, this one, the second I do that blending with this, I immediately go and wash this brush and shake out as much water out of it as I possibly can to keep this pristine, because you cannot let a mop brush get old. The fourth secret technique is rubbing alcohol. Now, a lot of artists over the years have discovered rubbing alcohol for its unique capabilities to create cellular blooms over thin layers of acrylic. There was a really old video that went up at least a decade ago on YouTube here, talking about sprinkling that acrylic over to get those blooms. But another great thing about rubbing alcohol is it can preserve your brushes in a way that most brush cleaners wouldn't. I have a video about how just soaking brushes in rubbing alcohol can bring a brush with completely dried paint all the way through it right back to life, just with a quick little 20-minute soak. Additionally, I have another video talking about how you can use rubbing alcohol to literally lift and erase acrylic paint layers off of your canvas. Everyone says acrylic's a permanent medium. It's not. You use a little rubbing alcohol, it comes right off. That is why I keep rubbing alcohol around on the shelf with all my acrylic liquid mediums, because it's a brush cleaner, it's a acrylic bloom effect that you can do with special effects, and it's a way to just erase the paint entirely. It's really, really, really useful for like, oh crap, I didn't mean to put that there. Well, just go ahead and erase it with rubbing alcohol. And the fifth and final secret weapon for my acrylic painting process is a mixed pigment hue color that Golden makes, and I don't think anybody else does, called Smalt Hue. I talk about this color a lot, so I don't know how secret it is at this point, but I've actually upgraded it to a jar after using the 2-ounce tubes for a while, because I use it in almost every painting I make all the time. This is my secret weapon for shadows. If you go back and look at pretty much any painting process video from the past 6 or 7 years, you will see towards the end I'm applying a dark-ish color, and it's usually the smalt, to shadow areas of my paintings, and it amplifies those shadows to an absurd degree. I made the mistake of a lot of painters over the years of just kind of using black for shadows, and while it sort of works, or just like a mixed black with maybe a red or into a purple to kind of use that as a shadow color. I switched to using some Prussian blue hue for a while, but when I found the smalt and what it does, my mind exploded. Unlike a lot of other acrylic paint colors, the smalt hue is a very, very, very transparent and low tinting color. It's easily polluted by almost every color that it touches, or every color that touches it, rather. So it can disappear really easily if you don't know how to use it. But if used sparingly, specifically how I do in glazes, towards the end of the piece, all of the colors underneath that you've painted and gotten all your details, just a little bit of that smalt on top of that for a shadow, creates a beautiful, cool, natural looking shadow without changing the color underneath too much. So if you think about how shadows work in real life, they don't completely gray out everything around them. It just kind of kicks all the colors back a little bit. That's exactly what the smalt hue does. Like I just said, I use it usually towards the end of my paintings, when I'm doing my final layers of glazing, bringing out some warms and cools in various sections of the painting. But it really allows me to very subtly give that perfect shadow to pretty much anything it touches. And because it's a very transparent color, again, it just enriches all of the underlying colors. We're just using a black or even like a deep blue that's more opaque, would just kind of like destroy that color with a layer. It's transparent, it enriches the rest of the colors rather than just plastering over them. So that's just a look at 5 of my secret weapons for acrylic painting. Technically there are more, but these are the 5 that I can think of that are really fundamental to how I do my work. Hopefully in sharing my 5 secret weapons, it has inspired you in order to maybe pick some of this stuff up and try it for yourself. But I'm curious if you guys have any secrets that you're willing to share about how you shortcut things in your painting and make better work. Let me know your shareable secrets in the description box below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this or learned something. Get subscribed if you're not already, and this has been Cinder Studios reminding you to keep on creating, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, let's get to work.